Okay, hello everyone and welcome back. This should be the third video. If you're watching these in the series, you should know what's going on. So in this episode, or in this video, we're going to be talking about adding the Macho Sword and Royal Sword into the games where they are obtainable, not through the dungeons or any other means, but you can level up into them. So, as I said, let's jump into it. You can see I already have the comdat file open, and I'm already in the config 7 folder in the data files. So go ahead and get to this point if you're not already. You can pause the video, whatever. And go ahead and open up this comdat file and scroll down to item ID 52. So you may notice here at 52 it jumps. There is no 53. It goes from 52 to 54. That is, if we look here in the data files, or in the data file, if we look here in the game with the debug menu, that is this empty spot right here. If you've seen the cutting room floor pictures, or maybe you already know that the Macho Sword from Dark Cloud 1 is supposed to be in that slot. Though for whatever reason, in the American and European versions, it is not in that slot. It was taken out of the game. However, it's pretty easy just to add it back. So we'll go to config 6, right? Like I said in the previous video, the game doesn't use this folder. It only uses config 7. But there are some useful things in here. Notably, we can open the comdat file and you'll see the 53, the item ID 53, the sword, is actually still in it. So if we copy and paste this, so I'm just going to cut it. Actually, no, I won't do that. I'll copy it, close it, don't save it. And I will paste it right there, so where it's in between 52 and 54. Go ahead and get myself back where I need to be. So now, this is the Macho Sword. You can see its item ID is 53, right here and right here. And it's using the model WS013, which is previously unused. Right, so if I change this to WS012, it would use this sword's model. If I change this to 14, it would use this sword's model. 13 is unique to the Macho Sword, which means that the files required for the Macho Sword are still in the data files. If I compiled this and loaded it up right now, then this empty slot in the game would be the Macho Sword. It would appear right there. Right there. So, we've already added it back to the debug menu, theoretically. One thing, I'm going to change this real quick, because for some reason, it's not 300, it's 999. One thing to note is this variable. It's the same as the one below it. I think in the previous video I said that either I didn't know what this variable did, or I said that it doesn't matter right now. I do know what it does. In fact, it's very important for this next step, is deciding what stats you want this weapon to have, and what you want it to level up into. Now if we go over here to this weapon.config, I will be diving into it here in a second. What this variable really does is it connects these lines of code to this file. So if we look at 52, for example, we'll look at 52 is right here, right? Before we added the Macho Sword back. And its weapon ID is 54. So that's going to be the Shamshur, I believe. Yeah, the Shamshur. We'll go ahead and I already have one in my inventory. So we'll open it up. We'll look at its stats here. If we go over to the weapon.config, and I'll open Notepad and drag it over here. If you look here, we see its stats, right? But if we look in the comdat file, this third variable, it is not the same as the item ID. However, we can use this to find its weapon stats in this file. So I have my calculator here. There's actually a algorithm that you can use, and I'll write it out here. So it's going to be 1 minus x times 7. So x is going to be this variable right here. So x can be whichever variable this is for whichever sword or weapon, and it's going to tell you where it is in this list. Maybe a better way to explain this. Or wait, not 1 minus, hold on. 1 plus, my bad. So 7, if you look over here, you can observe these lines. So each of these is a weapon, right? So all of these are 7 lines each. I don't know why I did it like that. 7 lines each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have to take into consider this. I'm not really sure what function this serves other than telling you how many items are in this list. So that's where the 1 plus comes from. And then x times 7 is going to tell you where in the list this number is at. So we'll say 52. I get my calculator out and we go 52 times 7, right? Plus 1. So 365. That means that the Shamshire item ID 54 is going to be at line number 365. So we'll scroll down here. 365. It's going to be actually below it. So this, from here to here, this is the Shamshire. And I'll show you. Oh boy, I did it now. Out of here. So if we look at the stats here, these are the default stats. Just to make sure, I'll do this. Right, I'm pressing square for default. I press triangle, max it out. Square is default. So these are its default stats. You can see the attack stat is 33 and the durability or durable is 32. We come over here, that's what you see right here. Weapon ST, 33, 32. Now we see this underscore L. What does that mean? Well, that means when I max it out, there you go, 62, 61, 62, 61. Looky there. So if I go back to the default stats, you can see Flame 0, Chill 0, Lightning 0, Cyclone 0. Well, there you see SD2. What does it look like? There you go. So we have, it goes in alternating. So left to right, left to right, left to right. It does it here. Left to right, left to right, left to right. So this is Flame, Chill, Lightning, Cyclone, Smash, Exorcism, Beast, Scale, etc. And again, if we max them out, you can see they correspond respectively. Those are the weapon stats, these 4 lines. Again, attack, durability, and then these respectively. You can also find, without doing the math, you can also find them by searching. I found the attack and durability tend to be pretty unique to a weapon. So 62, 61, if I count, there's only going to be one match. It's going to be the Shamshire, and you can find next, and it'll point you to it. So that's a neat little feature. Then we could look at weapon build. That may be of interest to you, because we look here. Oh boy, hold on. I can build it up now to the Dewsack. Well, the Dewsack, if we look in the debug menu here, the Dewsack's item ID up here is 76, so you can look down here, 76. So that is the only item that the Shamshire can build up into, is the Dewsack, and is the only item here. You can see there are also 2 zeros. Those are the total of 3 slots that you can have for build-ups in this game. At 0 is just going to be an empty slot. If I were to add a weapon ID here, say I wanted it to build up into the Dark Excalibur, I could add 84 here, and that would be, it's pretty straightforward. You see these -1s right here. I'm not really sure what the point of this is. I can tell you down here, so this is actually, if I go, which sword is this? I can't remember. Oh boy. I think it's, okay, so it's that one. Right, that makes sense. It would be the one after. So, let's see, 155 and 99 as this, and then down to default, see 99 and 81. So there you go. That's the Amano or Kamu, or however you say that. You can see that when I level it up, it goes to Muramasa and Dark Cloud. They both have enemies that you need to defeat. I'm assuming that would be these lists right here. So may be wrong there, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. You shouldn't be too worried about that, because neither of the swords we're adding into the game are going to be evolving into or building up into weapons that have requirements like this. So just go ahead and discard that. But those are the weapon build-up stats. So 83, that would have been the I think the Muramasa, and then the 57 would be the Dark Cloud. And we can check that real quick. So 83 is the Muramasa, and the 57 is Dark Cloud. There you go. So yeah, so there's your example for the weapon build. Right now, of course, this is the Shamshire, like I was saying before. Right now, the Macho Sword. Read that. Right now, the Macho Sword is using this preset, right? So it's going to build up into the Dussac. It's going to have these stats. We don't want that, right? So we have a few options. We can change it to another preset. We cannot create a preset. I've tried doing that and it doesn't work. Or we could change it to another preset. What I'm going to do, if we go to Google here, we're going to use the official wiki to find some information here. So we're going to look up the Halloween sword. If I could spell. I can't spell. Oh my god. Halloween blade. Because according to I believe the cutting room floor wiki page, in the Japanese version, the Macho Sword levels up to the Halloween blade. So we're just going to find which weapon levels up. Okay, so we found the Antique Sword levels up to the Halloween blade. What we want to do next is we're just going to find the item ID for the Antique Sword. And of course, I'm doing this with the debug menu so that you don't have to. Of course, you can install the debug menu on your own and do this, but again, I'm doing this so you don't have to. So the Antique Sword's item ID is 47. We're going to go look it up right here. So 47 is going to be right there. And you can see its preset is 46. So we're just going to copy and paste that over to 53. It's a Macho Sword. We're going to copy and paste that into this variable. So what that means now is that if we do this, 46 times 7 plus 1, 323. So we look for 323 or 323. And it's going to be one below that. So from here to here, this is now the preset that the Macho Sword's going to be using. And I think that's pretty fitting. And from here, we'll be able to upgrade into the Halloween blade. And one other, 86 is going to be... Well, that doesn't tell me anything. I don't know these swords by heart, by the way. So we have 75, that's going to be, of course, the branch sword, which is total garbage, and 86, the Halloween blade. There you go. These are the stats. I think these are fine. I'm not going to mess with them. But now the problem is we have no way to obtain the Macho Sword. It will, when you obtain it, it will level up into the Halloween blade, but unfortunately we have no way to get it to level it up. So the next thing to do is to find a blade fitting to upgrade into it. Which sword really at this point do we want to level up into the Macho Sword? And that's a good question. It's going to have to be a sword weaker than the Macho Sword. At this point, the Macho Sword is going to be the same as the Antique Sword. If you look, the Antique Sword is a level tier 5. So we're looking for a tier 4 weapon that levels up into the Macho Sword. Builds up from either the Sandbreaker or the Sax. Well, we don't want it built up from the same weapons as the Antique Sword. That wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't make any sense. But real quick, I'll iterate through these swords so that you can see the item IDs at the top, so you can make the decision on your own. And I'm just going to run through them real quick. You can pause at any time to get a specific ID if you want. But I'm gonna think on exactly what I want it to build up from. I'm thinking the Shamshire would be fine, since it's a level. I think it's a tier 4 weapon, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to check. So there you go. Those are all the weapons here. I'll go down to the Royal Sword as well, so you can see that item ID. So you can decide for yourself, but I'll show you how in just a second. I'm thinking the Shamshire. Shamshire is it's a tier 4, so that is perfect. That's excellent. We already have the Shamshire marked down here. It only has one thing that it builds up into. So all we have to do to make it to where it builds up into the Macho Sword is change this 0 to a 53. And there you go. Now you obtain the Macho Sword through building it up through the Shamshire. And that is how you add the Macho Sword back into the game. Of course, I also said in the previous video I'd show you how to add the Royal Sword back into the game to where it's obtainable. And that's the same process, right? The Royal Sword, however, has... well, we can look at it now. It has pretty garbage stats. So, if you say 22, 25, max stats is 45, it's pretty bad. So what I'm going to do for the Royal Sword is change its preset so its stats are better. Of course, you don't have to do this. You can leave it as a tier 1 sword. Yeah. Alright. So I think what I'm going to do... Let me find the Brave Arc real quick. I'm going to make the Royal Sword the same tier. I'm basically going to give it the same preset as the Brave Arc, wherever it's... Is that it? Yeah, so 58. So we'll go over to... At this point, we should know how to do this, right? So we'll find 58. That is the Brave Arc, and its preset is 56. So I'm going to copy that and go down here to, I think, 111 or 110 and change its preset from 108 to 56. Now it is going to have the same stats and level up the same as the Brave Arc. However, we still don't have anything that levels up into it. So the Brave Arc levels up from this sword, the Sax, and the Sax is a tier 4 weapon. So we need another tier 4 weapon that will level up into the Royal Sword. Okay, so it only has one thing it can be built up into, so I think it would be safe to build it up from the kitchen. It may not make much sense, but I think that's fine. It kind of forced you to do the kitchen knife route, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I always kind of avoid this weapon. So yeah, I think that would make sense. It's built up from the broadsword, so I mean, yeah, we can have it return to its kind of like a broadsword kind of sense. So we'll find the kitchen knife. I think is right there. So 49, then we come over to the comdat file 49. It's right there. Look at that, 48. So, oh wait, I don't want to do that. So we come over here, 48 times 7, plus 1, 337, it's going to be up. Gotta be these. There we go. And we're going to want to change this to 110. That is the item ID for the Royal Sword. So now we can save this. And wait, I want to save that as well because we added the sword back. We're going to save both of these files. Close out of this. Minimize that. Close out of this. We'll go all the way back to here. And actually what's great is, since in the previous video, we copied this data file over here, we're not going to have to recopy the whole thing. What we can do, since the only files that we changed were in here, we can just go ahead and select those weapon dat and comdat files. Control C. go back to the repacker, data, menu, config 7, and paste. And of course, replace them. And we don't have to copy the whole folder again. Of course, we're still going to need this. Copy that in there. And then repack. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Then we're going to have to repack it. So, light cloud, data, data.dat, data.hd3. There you go. And it's going to do its thing. Gonna have to make another cut here, but that's fine. I'm sure I've cut all the way through this video at this point. So, yeah. I'll see you when it's done. And there we go. It just finished. We're going to close this. And we have our new data files. Go ahead and open up our Dark Cloud 2 folder. There's going to be our new game. And move these over here. Replace the files already there, of course. Close this. Open image burn. Again, image from file. Hopefully at this point you've actually, what was this for? Unnecessary. So real quick, I'll show you how to get rid of that awful noise. Go to sounds, just turn it off. It'll be checked right here, I think. Just, yeah, so uncheck it for the sake of your ears. And again, just drag and drop this over here. This, I'm gonna go to here. Yep. Okay. Yes. That was just from the previous video. It's fine to overwrite the ISO. You're making a new one anyway. So again, this is going to take a hot second. I'm going to make another cut. You're just going to have to suffer through it. I'm sorry. But I'll see you when mine's done. And there you go. It's almost done. 99%. And finished. There we go. It would make that awful noise, but I have it turned off. Hopefully you do too. And we'll go ahead and it should still have the path. Yeah, it still has the right one selected. So I'm going to boot it up. Yep. And what we'll see in this version of the game, in this modded version of the game, because of the previous video, all of my item sizes are going to be increased. But we'll also see, what was the issue here? Okay, there's no issue. We'll also see that we can build up the Macho Sword from the Shamshire. We'll be able to build up the Royal Sword from the Cooking Knife, and obtain them in the game. So that'll be fun. We'll go ahead and go down here to the, I don't have a Shamshire, so let me go ahead and spawn one in. There you can see already, the Macho Sword is right there. There will be one problem with the Macho Sword. I'll talk about it after I get it. So we'll go status, level it all the way up. Should be able to build up into the Macho Sword. There we go. There's the Macho Sword. You can see it has the stunning ability because of it's also the other weapon as well, but it's using the Brave Arc preset. But there you go. It has the right model. The only problem is it's not going to have. You may notice down here it doesn't have a description, and this is disheartening. I've tried I've tried a lot of things to get a description in the game. As soon as I figure it out, I'll make a video on it. But right now, I have no way to change the description. So yeah. But you can see, since this is an intermediate sword, you won't have to deal with this for very long. You level it all the way up, and then, turn it into the Halloween blade. It levels up just fine. And there you go, you won't have to deal with that anymore. Halloween blade has its description. And the other sword we did was levels up from the, where's that? Where's the kitchen? There it is. So look at the kitchen knife. level it up, or put its stats all the way up. It'll build up, and there it is, the Royal Sword in all of its glory. Let's go ahead and level up. And of course, it's going to have the same stats as the whichever sword. Again, you don't have to do it the exact same way that I did, but I think it has the same same stats as the what was it? I can't even remember now. All this waiting's got me all thrown. Either is the broadsword, is the bastard sword? I don't know. One of those swords. Let's see. I can't remember, but that's fine. You can see it has decent stats, and the Royal Sword actually does have a description in the game, so yeah, so we'll build up, go ahead and max those stats out. Ruler Sword or the Claymore. And there you go. You've added the Macho Sword and the Royal Sword back into the game, and you can obtain them legitimately. So yeah. Yeah, I know I've reached my limit. Hold on. I need to throw away some bread. What a shame. If you followed all 3 videos, you now have increased item sizes. You have the swords back in the game. You've modded Dark Cloud too, so congratulations. Hopefully you've learned what you meant to learn from these videos. Go ahead and close that. Hopefully you've learned what you intended to learn from these videos, and I was able to help you understand how to mod this game. Maybe you can experiment with it more and do what you want with it, not have to follow my tutorial. And with that said, really I hope that these videos benefit someone out there, and if they do, be sure to drop a comment down below and let me know what you think, or if you find out anything that I didn't cover in the videos, be sure to let me know and tell me, and I'll make a video covering that, and I'll be sure to credit you, of course. I think that's all that I have to say, guys, and yeah, so if you enjoyed these videos and they helped you out, subscribe. Maybe wait for other videos. Maybe there'll be more in the future. Thanks.